Foodsharing Podcast. Willkommen beim Foodsharing Podcast. Werde aktiv und rette mit.
Unsere heutige Podcastfolge ist auf Englisch, da wir mit einem US-amerikanischen Projekt sprechen. Let's start!
Welcome to the 5th edition of the Foodsharing Podcast. Today, Philip will be talking with Valerie and Ernst from the town Davis in the USA. Both of them are working to prevent food waste and will tell us about their project, Davis Night Market, where saved groceries are shared out 5 times a week at a small night market. They will also talk about food sharing in general in the USA.
Hello, Valerie and Ernst.
Hello.
Hi.
We would like to start a little warm-up with you too, so that we can really get going. So I'm asking you too. You spent some amount of your time being a food saver. What else keeps you busy?
Well, I am a postdoctoral scholar at the university here in the University of California in Davis. So that's my day job. And yeah, the rest of my time, I do a lot of things related with food recovery and food sharing, especially now during the pandemic, that we don't have too many options of things to do. So yeah, that's what I do.
And then I'm a teacher. I teach economics, environmental economics. That's my actual job. I'm not teaching right now. Right now, I'm doing most of my time using for food recovery and food sharing. So yeah, we are also moving away from the US, and so I'm spending time trying to figure that out, how is to move. But yeah, I've been spending a lot of time on food sharing activities and these days.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Now, now I'm just asking some random questions. What do you prefer, pizza or salad?
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one.
There's a lot of pizza available here in the States. So yeah, sometimes you are craving a salad.
Okay. And big city.
I would say pizza.
Okay. So
I got bought into the pizza thing here. So yeah, pizza is great.
Okay. Big city life or rather country life?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Big city is difficult, but I've grew up in a big city, so it's like not that strange to me. The country life, I haven't experienced the country life yet.
I've been struggling with that question as we speak, since we are trying to move to a new place, and so having all these questions about what is the best. What about suburban life, which is in between? I don't know. I think personally, I've been thinking about living in cities recently. So I think from some time to now, my goal is to move back to a city because this is a small town. But cities are really hard for food-related activities. I mean, growing food in cities is hard, and it can be done. But so yeah, that's kind of the thing that I have. My problem with cities is it's hard to grow food in them. Most of the food in cities is imported from outside the city. So that's the struggle. So if we could grow food in cities, then I would go with cities. If we cannot grow food in cities, then I'll probably go with the countryside where food can be grown, because food cannot be shared before it's grown.
That's true. Okay, a loft or a tiny house?
Tiny house for me.
Loft.
Guinea pig or rattlesnake?
Well, what's the first?
Guinea pig.
Guinea pig. Oh, guinea pig. Cute.
Well, I'll say rattlesnake.
Okay, cool.
It tells you when where the danger is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Regional or organic cuisine?
Regional.
Yeah, I'll say regional too. Yeah. And then again, all these questions is really hard to choose between those things, but I guess that's the point of those questions.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, many thanks. With the first 5 questions, we would like to devote ourselves to the past. Why did you become a food saver?
When, you mean, or where?
Why?
Why?
Oh, why? None of them. Do you want to go first?
Well, it was, well, I've been studying for a long time about food because that's my field, my professional field. So I have noticed all them bad practices of the industry, and that is, I don't know, very concerning. So it took me like years of thinking, and also seeing people on the streets, and that was my main motivation when I started, like people on the street and food access for those people. Those things have changed a little bit now that I'm doing it, because I've realized like how like food insecurity is everywhere, and like those things that I didn't know before, because I mean the information is available, but I wasn't like paying attention to it. So I was like looking at these people every day on the streets, and like thinking how can I help. And then this opportunity of like starting food recovery showed up, and yeah, it was like, yeah, this is something that I would really like to do, and I started doing that.
Yeah, my reasons are pretty similar. I think that when I ask people that question, is kind of the same. I think people are shocked by. I think the first thing is people are shocked by seeing food insecurity. When I think in the classic example is a homeless person, and even if now I think food security. I mean, when we talked about it, we know that there's a lot of people that are food insecure, but they still have houses, they still have jobs, but they are food insecure. And I think so that was one reason, I think, for me. And the second reason is I study agronomy, and we always, as agronomists, we always talk about, producing more food, and agronomists is always talking about like we need to feed the world, and then having these debates about natural resources that are used for, growing food and deforestation, and so I think in 2012 for me it was 2012 when I started thinking about fridges and food recovery, and I saw other initiatives going on, and there was a big push, I think, for folks to talk about food waste, and so yeah, I think that's what you made the connection for me. Is when we were thinking about food security, and then when we started talking about food waste, we were like, well, there's an opportunity here to try to, and I think that's what a lot of people think is like trying to solve these two problems with one action, is food security and food waste at the same time. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. And then, we can talk about it more later, but I think all of these actions that we're doing, I think they're a good conversation starters. It's good to start conversations, but they don't necessarily change the problems that we're trying to solve. But it's good to start a conversation about those problems.
Okay. When did your group in Davis start, and how or why did it happen?
I can tell that story. I was doing fridges, and we've been putting fridges here since 2014. And so the problem with the fridges here is we had some problems with the health inspectors in the beginning, and we couldn't operate for some time. And then we got a informal permit to share produce and fruits and vegetables. And later on, we got a permit to share non-perishable items. But cooked food can never go in the fridges, at least technically. Here, we cannot have cooked food. Here, there is people who put cooked food in the fridges, obviously. But according to the law, we're not supposed to. And so we're been talking with another group called Food Recovery Network, which has, it's more like a student group. They have several student groups in several campuses in the US. And so we started talking with Food Recovery Network. Food Recovery Network used to drop a lot of food in the fridges as well. And Food Recovery Network used to do recovery of cooked food. And then we started talking to them about what they're doing. And then they were doing that food recovery normally in campus. And we started talking about the fact that in the city, there was nobody doing food recovery in the city. So in restaurants in the city. So all this food recovery happening in the campus, but not in the city. And so we decided to make a partnership. And this was prompted by our friend, Dima, who is she's like also a food entrepreneur. And she brought us together one time with Food Recovery Network and the fridge. And she said, why don't you start doing food recovery in the city as well? And then that's what we started doing. So yeah, I think it started from that partnership between the fridge and Food Recovery Network, because normally the fridge is like we do food recovery. We always did a little bit of food recovery, but mostly what we're doing is just providing a space for other people to bring food. And so we decided to engage in food recovery more actively with the night market, and that started. And I think, I don't know, I'm saying a lot. There is another component as well, so it's not just about the food recovery and the food insecurity, but I think what is different about the night market that we're trying to do as well is the gathering space. The fridges are they're good because they are anonymous, and a lot of people want being anonymous. A lot of people don't want to be perceived as being food insecure, or they don't want to be, they have this stigma around poverty that we created, right? We created the stigma. If you're homeless, then you're not successful. Therefore, you're a failure of society. And this works. A lot of people actually feel that they're a failure, and they don't want to be seen looking for free food. So the fridge helps with that, I think, is anonymous. But there's a component missing of people, right? And what we're trying to do with the night market is also fighting that stigma around free food. So we try to make free food a fun thing. And so that also, the idea of with that is providing a place where people can come and gather and talk to other people. And, it's a community around free food, but you are seeing the people who are there, which is different from the fridges who are kind of anonymous. Yeah, that's where I started. But Val can talk to you about the other side when.
Well, I just started because I saw a post on the social media that there was people that they needed people to start this project, and I said, I was, as I told you before, I was already thinking a lot about these things, and I saw that post, it was like, oh, this is perfect, and yeah, that's when and why I started with this organization.
Cool. Can you tell us something about the background of the food saving movement in the US?
Yeah, I don't know. I can talk. So I can talk about Food Recovery Network, which is a group that for me, the first time that I heard the word food recovery was from them. And I think this has been existing, and there is a lot now. So I think this is in the voluntary world, right? The Food Recovery Network has existed for many years now and being spreading in many campuses. But I think what's happening now in the US, there is a big action around mutual aid, and this is something that I at least feel that started this year under COVID-19, with the shutdown of a lot of places and a lot of increasing unemployment, increasing food insecurity, and so a lot of organizations are started doing fridges and mutual aid in general, not just fridges, but pop-ups. So we've seen. So here there's a thing called Table Tuesday, which is kind of like the night market, but during the day, and only on Tuesdays. And we've seen other organizations doing pop-up free food. So there is an organization in New York called In Our Hearts that does that. There's another organization in, I think, Charlotte, in North Carolina. I think I'm confused with the name of the cities. This organization is called the pop-up show, I think. Yeah, it's the Village Pop-up Show, which is kind of similar to the night market. And there is other, here in Oakland, there's an organizer here, Mama B. She is called something that is called the Pop-up Village, which is a similar name. But the idea is a space where there's free food and there's gathering around that free food and other types of vendors that come as well. So I think the movement of food recovery in the US, if you just think about food recovery, changed a lot recently in the past year, with community fridges and mutual aid organizations. But I think it was already, this is not something that just popped. I think it was already in the works with many organizations that are, working for food sovereignty. And I think that's something that happened before. I think the food sovereignty movement, which revolves around, giving people from this land their land back, so the indigenous people, and talking about food sovereignty in those circles. And I think we're being in partnership with another organization too called Black Earth Farms, which is about Black farmers and having land for Black farmers. And I think these organizations, they're not really focusing on food recovery. They're focusing on food access, right? So they're actually growing food to give out food. So they're stepping, because they skipping the recovery part. Instead of the food going somewhere and then we recover that food and then bring to other people, they just grow food to give for free. And I think that's something that was already happening here. And it obviously got bigger with COVID-19 as well. But I think here the focus, if we don't talk about Food Recovery Network, I think the focus that we've seen from a lot of organizations was growing food to be given away, which is a little different, I think.
And there is also like the most bigger organizations, like the food banks that are in every county here. But they are more like formal and like not. I mean, they also have like volunteers a lot. They rely a lot on volunteers, but like they're more like a bigger organizations.
Yeah. That's a good point. There is a new law in California. You asked about the US, but in California, there's a new law that forces any business with food waste to cut down their food waste, mainly for methane emissions. And so this law is being enacted. And the food bank here, we have a food bank in the county, and they're trying to do big actions around that and harvesting food, recovering food directly from farmers, because a lot of farmers don't get their tomatoes harvested, for example, because if it's too cheap sometimes to pay people to harvest. So there are a lot of actions there, as Val said, more from bigger organizations, so not from grassroots organizations that are being led as well. And yeah, we're not necessarily opposed to those things, but we are trying an approach that is more community focused.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Now I want to tell something about our organization or our movement. And yeah, it's called foodsharing.de. So DE is Germany, Deutschland. Yeah. And foodsharing.de is an environmental movement, like you probably. Our goal is to conserve natural resources on our planet. Wasting food means wasting the resources used for it, like water, energy, land and storage space, working time, raw materials for packaging, for example. Food sharing is not a social or actually charitable organization. We do not want to presume to decide which people are in need or which projects are more worthy of support than others. We want to make food unconditionally available to all people and thereby promote respect for them. At Food Sharing, we give away surplus food from companies and private individuals. The food is always given away for free and never sold or used as a medium of exchange. Of course, food savers are allowed to consume the rescued good themselves. Food sharing works independently of political parties and denominations. Food sharing distributes food to everyone. Any kind of exclusion or disadvantage will not be tolerated. We are not in competition with other initiatives that work against food waste, such as the food banks, but rather cooperate with them. We welcome and support any commitment against food waste. Okay, let's get back to the questions. Is night market operation only in Davis or in other places as well?
We started here in Davis, and we started like 1.5 years ago. Slowly growing in the more days that we are doing now, and part of like our growing plan is trying to get other people to do this in their own cities. So there is one in Sacramento that is 20 minutes away from here. There is a couple of people that is interested in starting one. We have been in conversations with them. Basically, the idea is that they do their own thing as they want to do it, because like we can tell them our experience, but also like we live in like a different city, so it can be like very different for them to do the same. So yeah, there is not another night market yet, but hopefully there will be one soon. And yeah, we also want to. We have a website now, but like we don't have the resources in there yet. But like we want to put all the resources on how we started, like what are the I don't know, the permits that we have, etc., or how like we do the recoveries by bike, how we like adapt the bike trailers, etc. So anyone can go on the website and read that and like basically copy or like get like an inspiration to make in their own cities. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely see that expansion as a more decentralized approach. Yeah, we have the people in Sacramento that is starting in our market. They are already giving free food away. And so we don't know about other people that call themselves night market. That's what Val said. But there is other organizations that do something similar, right? They just don't call it the night market. They do recover with cars and not bikes, but it's very, very similar in that way. So yeah, we definitely want to expand the idea, but I think ultimately is the community that has to do it. What we can do is try to help them with resources and stuff. But in the end, it cannot be imposed. It cannot be something that we come in a new community and say, "Oh, let's do a night market here," and then we leave, and it's going to keep going. It has to come from that community. There has to be a willingness to do something there from the people there. So yeah, we definitely trying to reach out to more folks and spread the word and help people that want to do night markets all over their neighborhoods. We would be glad to help.
Yeah, sounds good. How many volunteers are involved nowadays with your project?
Good question.
Yeah, good question. We don't really have a number because like the way that we work is we have a Slack, and anyone that is interested, we add them to Slack. But a lot of times, like people like they are in the Slack and they don't really participate, so we don't really know if they're like our volunteers or not. And also, like Davis is a college town, so a lot of people comes and goes. So it's, I don't know. I will say like on average we have like between 15
and 20. Yeah.
15 and 20 people at the time that is actively doing something. Yeah.
15, 20 people. Comes and goes, but yeah, for running the night market during the week, we need 10 people at least, because it's two people per day, and we're doing Mondays to Fridays. But sometimes we often have more people there, so I would say there's also people who come to help set up. There's the people doing the recoveries and the people setting up the place. So I would say maybe 3 people. I think 15 is a good number. Yeah, 15 to 20, I would say, for a small town.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's get to your workflow now. Who are you cooperating with? Where do you get your food from?
We have a variety of stores here in town. So we have grocery stores, bakeries, restaurants, And we also like sometimes get food from like other people that they like an occasional thing, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have all this food from this event tonight, can you come and recover it like for the night market? So we do that as well. But yeah, now we have like probably 7 or 8 places that are constantly donated food to us every day. Yeah.
Food trucks as well, but a little less. But we have now one restaurant that donates that is a food truck. Yeah, we have about 10 donors now. So 2 bakeries, coffee shops, and they donate more pastries and things like that, sandwiches. So yeah, there's about 10 donors. They come and go as well. Some of them are fixed. Some of them are with us since the beginning, and they never stop donating. Some of them kind of stopped because they maybe saw how much food was going and they maybe figured out a way to stop wasting that food, which is good, right? And yeah, all sorts of vendors that are ready to eat food. And people start bringing food. Now there's like, okay, we have to cope with that because we technically can only give food the way that it was prepared in a commercial kitchen. But folks bring food, and people want to bring food that they cooked at home, and they want to, and we love that, and we need to figure out how to do that, and that's kind of illegal, So that's the frontier of our work. There is a home cooked food law here in California that allows people to sell food from their homes, but not every county opt to that law. So it depends on which county you are, and our county did not opt in, so we cannot formally accept home cooked food. Some other counties can do that. So maybe if there's a night market in those places, they could be able to do that too.
Okay. How much food can you save per day or week?
We have some data around. I don't have it like handy right now, but like the way that we calculate is we count, like, because we give the food like in like pre-boxed. Either it depends on where the food comes. Like sometimes we have to put it in boxes, and sometimes it comes like that from the store. So we count the boxes and we calculate like the weight on it, so to see how much we are recovering. But it's very, very variable. Like sometimes we have like from like, I don't know, maybe 15 boxes or sometimes even less, and other times we have like 100. So it depends. It really depends on the day.
Yeah, I think that on average, since the numbers we have looked, on average, during the times that we're receiving a lot of bread, we would have something between 50 and 100 loaves of bread every night, and meals, including, I don't know, the co-op stuff, something like that too, between 20 and 50 meals. So I think if we're going to look in terms of like pounds, I would say something between 100 and 150 pounds per night, which is, divided by 2 if you want to do in kilos, which is the better measure. So I would say 50 to 75 kilos of food every night. And yeah, I don't know. I think recently, yeah, I would say even like 100 kilos, depends. Recently we've been receiving a lot of food from bakeries and stuff. Like this week, we definitely gave out more than, about 100 kilos a night, I would say, in a good night, and 50 more like in a worst night. So
sorry. Very unpredictable.
Yeah. Some days we struggle. Yeah, because some days. So that's why we try to have more and more restaurants, because you create some sort of expectation now when you start bringing all this food every day, and then we start having donors that donate every day, and then one day they fail, and we have one big donor that happened, and then a lot of people stop coming, because one of the reasons why they would come is because that one donor, but then we get another donor, and then other people start coming. So we're trying to get more and more donors. So even if one or two fail, there is still other donors that donate food, and so it's a weird compromise, because we want to also stop food waste, right? And this is one of our main things. And we know that when the donors donate less, because they're wasting less, but then it means the less food for the people who got those expectations now. And that's why, like, our
I wouldn't call that they fail, not donated. They figure it out.
When I say they fail, it means they don't donate, right? Because they didn't have anything to donate. We just call that fail. But they're good because they avoided that waste. So it's just that, like, for when you have a line of people, and then we have a big line, and then you have to ration the food. It happened a few times. It doesn't happen most nights. Most nights we have abundance, and then we have food extra at the end of the night. There's still food extra that we then take to the fridges. But we had a few nights in which you have to ration, in which we look at the line. There was maybe 15 people. We look at the boxes. There's maybe 30 boxes, and you say, all right, 2 boxes per person. Where normally we don't do that. It's just you take as much as you want, and people can just choose whatever they want and leave. And so rationing happened a few times, which is it's. People are also okay with that. They're not, every time we say, sorry, we have to ration, and people are like, fine, like, no, we know where it is. So
that brings us already to the next question. How do you organize the distribution of the saved food?
So we pick up the food in bike trailers around town. Davis is a small town, so we can and very flat. So it's easy for us to do that. We have volunteers assigned to different locations, and we all meet at 9 p.m. at one central point that is like the Central Park of Davis. And it changes a little bit during the pandemic, because we used to just put the food on a table and everyone will come and grab it and gather around the table. And now what we changed it is that we put it on the table too, but we have people line it up, and we tell one by one what we have, and we give them what they want. We don't ask anything about needs, or anyone can come get the food, and also you can get as much as you want.
Yeah, we are slowly relaxing our COVID measures, because in the beginning of COVID, as Val said, I shouldn't say that, but to decide on moving forward, it was really hard for us, because we used to have this gathering space, and then all of a sudden we have to shut down. And then we're like, well, we're not going to shut down, because we are whatever they call here an essential facility, because we're providing food. And so we had to figure it out. We had long debates on how to keep working under COVID, because of the gathering aspect. And the gathering aspect has always been big for us. So we kind of lost the gathering aspect during COVID because of that, because people couldn't gather anymore. And then became the line, there's a line, then people come. And then now we slowly trying to go back to gathering with, because it's outside, so people have masks, and outside gatherings are much safer than inside gatherings. So the night market is actually a good place for gathering under COVID because it happens outside. And so we are kind of allowing people to gather again now. So there is a mix. The way people get the food is like the food's there, and then there's some regulations or some limits on how many people can be at the table at a certain time, and that's pretty much the difference. But we try and do gatherings again. Yeah.
Okay. How often are you actively involved in saving food?
For me, twice a week. I do food week. I do pickups on Tuesday. Val and I do the same day, Tuesday. Tuesday is my day for the night market, and on Wednesday I do recovery from for the fridge. But that's not cooked food. That is produce and fruits and vegetables.
And yeah, but sometimes, I don't know, sometimes it depends on the week, because I don't know, like we are supposed to do with the night market just one day a week, but we started like Fridays, for example, recently. And Friday, like we have like a schedule that is rotating people. So sometimes it's more than once a week, and other times you have to cover from someone else. So it's been like weeks that, I don't know, I've been like 4 nights of the week doing it. But like, actually, it's an activity that I enjoy. So it's not like terrible.
Yeah. Can everyone come and get food from night market, or are you focused on a certain target group?
Yeah, no, I think that when you said what food sharing does, and that's very similar to us, we don't have any, because need it's something that is hard to measure and even to judge, right? And then who are we to judge how much people need what? And the context of each person is up to each person, and so we don't target any specific population, but we do try to target all populations, right? So there is an effort to get the homeless community because it's a population in need, but also any other folks. So students is a big population that come to the night market because of college town, but also many families that are not homeless. So yeah, it's a hard question because we don't focus on one type of population. We do want to have all types of people coming, but for that, sometimes need you to go target some certain groups that you don't think that they know about it because they lack the resources to know that information. Because if we're posting things on Instagram or we're posting things on Facebook, a lot of people don't follow those things, and they cannot have access to the information when the food's gonna be, or if there's a time change or things like that. So I think the outreach that some of us started doing with the homeless community is to just share knowledge. But this is not a service for the homeless, it's for everybody. And this is a problem that came up while working with some bigger organizations like food banks. We would try to work with food banks as well, but it's more informal. Our partnership with food banks is very informal. It's like sometimes they have extra food and they just bring it, but we cannot have a formal partnership with the food bank here because the food bank needs you to ask information about people's needs. And this is something that we don't do because against our policies to ask people, how much in need they are, and to prove that they are in need, and so we don't do that. So that makes it a little difficult to work with other organizations that are more charitable. And so, working with charities is possible, but it's a little hard sometimes. But we try to work with everyone.
Yeah. Coming back to our organization, yes, we are happy to give priority to all charitable organizations to distribute rescued food to those in need. Food sharing should only be the last bastion before the garbage can for all food that other organizations cannot distribute. Food sharing wants to live a new culture of respect for food together with thousands of voluntary food savers throughout Europe in order to give the food the appreciation it deserves together with the cooperating shops. The long-term goal of food sharing is to make yourself superfluous by ending the large-scale systematic waste of food. For more information on this topic, we recommend the film Taste the Waste by our founding member Valentin Thurn. Okay, coming back to your project. Has there been or is there any criticism about your project?
Do you have an example? I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think the criticism is about, and we didn't. This is a criticism that it's internal, sometimes voiced. I think maybe it's about the way. The food that we're giving out is excess food, and so and it's something that we're struggling. That's something that we're trying to figure it out as well. But this is part of what we do, which is very similar to what food sharing does, which is reducing food waste. And so, if you are reducing food waste and you're trying to do food recovery, obviously this food is excess. You would be wasted somewhere. And so when you talk from a point of food insecurity, this is something like that. It's kind of like a problem because we are treating food insecurity with food waste or things that would be food waste. And this food was not. So if I go to the night market, so yesterday, for example, we had a special night market with a lot of people brought home cooked food. It was more like a potluck in the park. And that food was cooked for the night market. It's like we cooked that food. It was not going to waste. And so that is kind of where we are struggling. I think is there is the stigma around free food, that is donated food, that is recovered food. I think has to do with the consumption habits of most people, and this is very understandable. The thing is, like, we say I'm not food insecure, right? So I can choose what I want. I can go to the supermarket. I can buy whatever I want. I don't have to be limited. I mean, the thing is, like, the supermarket gives us a lot of choice, right? We can talk about that, but I don't have to choose what I'm gonna eat based on my bank account, right? I have enough money to buy whatever food I want. Given, I mean, I'm not eating a lot of fancy food, but I can buy my groceries, right? I don't have to choose that much, and so I think there is a willingness of having the same service for the people who are giving food out in the street, of having them to be, in the same experience as if they were in a grocery store, where they can come and choose from all these varieties of food that we have. And then many times we actually achieve that because there is such a huge variety of food that people actually do have the feeling that they're actually shopping. It's free, but and so I think this is something that we struggle with, which with this idea of the need for that to happen, right? Because why is it that we are conditioned ourselves to this amount of choice? And so I think there has to be a change in our society, I think, in our way of thinking, especially here in terms of where we get the food. And recovered food is not bad food. And it's good food that everybody, the food that we are providing it's high quality food, and we prime quality food, and so I think that's kind of where we struggle with a little bit, is the frontier between recovered food and giving people what they want.
But is that like a criticism from like the people like from outside? I don't know. I haven't seen that.
No, I think it's more internal.
Yeah, that's more like an internal struggle. But like from other like external like criticism, I don't think I've heard any, like in this whole time that we have done it. Like on the contrary, like we only receive like good words for us, and like, oh guys, you guys are great for doing this, and like like a lot of support from the community.
Yeah. In general, yes. Except when we're too loud, we do have some noise complaints because their music was too loud in the park. So, yeah.
Okay. How can people participate in the night market?
I think what we really need right now is people helping us find restaurants, more donors. But you can participate by being a volunteer and picking up food. So driving your bike around with the bike trailer and picking up food from restaurants, bringing it to the night market. This is the main task.
Yeah, but we have a lot of like small tasks, like helping with building the bike trailers, or helping writing proposals, or I don't know. We have like a million of little things that we need to do, like just small things, like make a flyer for this thing, or like we have this Slack where we like organize. We would like all the volunteers. We're there and we just try to organize, and people just offer like their help with whatever they think is more enjoyable for them, or they can do.
Or just come have fun. What we really sometimes we ask people is just to show up, because there's many folks, and that's the third component that we have along with food insecurity and food waste, is the social gathering aspect, because as you say, ideally food waste wouldn't exist, right? And then you would stop having food waste, but the gathering can still continue, and people can still share food that they bring from home. Right, and yesterday I think we have like a good glimpse into that. It's like all the food that we had there was cooked, and so if we stop food waste, it doesn't mean that we have to stop gathering. We can still gather around food, which is something that we do at dinner at home, and with our families on Christmas or something like that. And I think that the night market has this strong component of trying to avoid food waste, but as soon as we figure that out and we reduce and eliminate food waste from our society, there is still the food sharing aspect and the gathering aspect that stays, I think. Sometimes we just tell people, show up to the night market and come talk to us, and we just like talking to people and being there, talking about ideas around food or sustainability. every night at the night market, there are just a lot of discussions about that, just because people show up and just informal discussions, and then there's a place to exchange ideas. So sometimes people want to get involved. They don't know. Best thing is just show up and to start doing things. Sometimes there's something people can do that we don't know, and they can actually find their role. That actually happened many times. We had volunteers, they came and they're like, can I do that? And it's something that we never thought about, and they created their own role in the night market. They created their job and did it. So
Okay. You can be seen regularly in the local press. Do you consciously work with the press, and what is your public relation work like?
We are not like doing an effort on that, I think. So there was a time last year, like we started 1.5 years ago, like after a few months, like we started getting like some attention from press here. And yeah, it was great because like it helped us a lot at the beginning to like people to know about the night market. We still don't know like really like how people know about it.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, but yeah, we are not doing like an effort of being like on interviews and stuff. We more try to like connect with organizations that are doing similar stuff, because like through that network, I think it's I mean it's one way, because also like interviews and radio shows and stuff is important too, because there is a lot of people they are not like involved in the like food network, and it helps them like to hear about it. We haven't had an interview in a while, I think. At least for the night market, like a lot of people have been talking with Ernst about the fridge lately.
Yeah, the fridges have been getting a lot of press here in the US because the movement that started under COVID, and we had interaction with the press before. I think that the only criticism that I have sometimes for journalists is that I got misquoted on a bunch of stuff where the article is saying that I say stuff about me that is not true. It's not a misquote because they didn't actually quote, because when it's a quote, I actually said something. It's saying I did say this, and then they say he said that. But sometimes there is information that it gets spread on the media that is just not true. It's just a misunderstanding of and sometimes it's because of my accent, or it's just not big deal. This information that I'm talking about that is not true is not something that very bad. It's just like something about my background, or people are gonna say, oh, this person, they started this because of this, and then it's like something that I was trying to explain and then didn't really get understood, and then the journalist decided to say, oh, they think that, but they didn't quote me, or it's not a quote. It's not like a podcast doesn't have that problem, because and then the radio, we never had problems with radio. We had radio interviews before. In radio interviews, we never had that problem, because whatever people listen to is whatever I'm saying. And so, and where in a written article, the person writing the article, they can say that or that, and
An interpretation.
The interpretation of the person. And I never had a big issue with that. It's always like small issues. It's always about stuff like, oh, I didn't say that. Why they're saying that I said that, and I didn't say that, and it's fine. But that's why I'm trying to be very clear when I say things like, I'm saying this. Don't quote me, or don't quote me on this, people say, but quote me on this.
Yeah. Where else can people find information about your project if they don't meet you in Davis?
Well, we have a website that is davisnightmarket.org. So there we have like the information, and we have a contact form. We also have an email that is nightmarket@fridge.org. And we have social media, Facebook, Instagram, that we are trying to quit slowly, but it's very difficult because we reach a lot of people through those platforms. And we have a Twitter, so we are trying to move to Twitter, but I don't know. It's a slow process still. So right now we have like the website, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, the idea for us would be something like food sharing, which does not require people to go on Instagram or Facebook. They can go on food sharing. And so there are people here. There's an app here called Free Bites that we've been using a lot in Davis. And it's something that started from Davis students, and they're opening the app for other folks, but it's an app around free food. And so we are waiting for that app to become open to out of Davis or UC Davis students. So we're looking for the app because if that app works, it's going to be very similar to what you have in food sharing, where you post. There is the physical component of where the fridges are, but there's also the more dynamic, temporary component of like where food gets posted, right? When there's food, there's like you post somewhere and it shows up on the map. So I think this app will do exactly that. So we're looking forward for that, escaping social medias that are, they have a very different goal. I can talk about that for a long time. But my personal problem with this social medias is that they are pushing some sort of mentality that we are against that mentality. Because the reason why we have food waste is because of consumerism, or the way that our food systems are working in the capitalist structure, right? We can talk about capitalism another day, but there is definitely an interest in our part to reduce consumerism or to go against it, and then reducing waste goes in that direction. And these social networks, they're doing the opposite. They're actually promoting consumerism, like they run on ads, right? That's what they run on, and so that's why we try to quit them, because
doesn't align.
We seem to be going very opposite directions here, and so
Okay. Thanks a lot for this interesting exchange. If you ever end up visiting Europe, you're very much invited to join us in a food sharing event.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I guess we can learn a lot from one another and from our projects, as we share the same motivation. Good luck, and goodbye.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Philip.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you for sharing your experience with us and for giving us an insight into food sharing in the USA. Till next time, your food sharing podcast team.
Foodsharing Podcast. Werde aktiv und rette mit unter www.foodsharing.de.